Good afternoon, everyone. It is 6:30. And so with that, I will call to order the Monday, January 27th, 2025 Prairie Grove City Council meeting. Roll call, please.
Powell. Here. Audrey Wetzel. Here. Free Greg. Here. Tony Cunningham.
Here.
Doug Stumble.
Here.
Kevin Andrews. Paul Ditmars. Here.
Before we move to public comment, where did Chuck go? Did Chuck, he already left?
Yeah.
So you know what, as far as the resolution for the Waterline Creek? I was supposed to be moving that up, so you have, okay, so I don't need to move anything then, right? Because I was just gonna move it to the top so he could answer and go. F. Letter F. Okay, all right. Well, with that said, we'll open up for public comment. Would anyone in our forum like to share some words with the council? Hearing none, we'll move to the approval of the December 16th, 2024 regular city council meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Do have a motion and second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. It was Tony and Doug. Treasurer's report unfortunately was sent out today, and I do apologize for that. Mrs. Newman has been working very diligently to get it to you. We thought we could get it through a little bit earlier. I don't feel okay approving it, but we did send it out probably around lunchtime today. Do y'all have any questions or comments? Or y'all okay moving it to audit? Everyone good?
Okay.
Hearing no questions or comments, we'll move the October, November bank statements to audit. Unfinished business, we talked a few months back about the code red discussion, and in front of y'all, you see the paperwork in which it shows the amount for this HQE. So just a rundown for not only our two new representatives, but even the people in the public, is that back on the tornado that hit us the early morning of Halloween, Code Red did not send out the alert or the emergency alert notifying us that there would be a tornado. And so in myself and Mr. Orridge's kind of investigation with Code Red, it was really just a problem that they had with an update. Since then, the claim is that the update has been fixed and that the problem will never happen again. So here's the short of it all. Was the request was made to look at different organizations and whether or not we should step away from Code Red. So one of the things that we looked at was this HQE that's in front of you guys. And we also talked about, which is what Fayetteville did when they moved away from Code Red, which was to encourage their residents to go with the National Weather Service free app. They bought iPause, which is a notification system, which is also included in HQE. And then what Fayetteville did was remove their hands from it. So in essence, everyone uses a free app, and then Fayetteville uses iPause to notify people as far as anything that's movement with inside the city. So the app tells you the tornado came, we opened up the shelter, we did this, all runs through iPause. And Fayetteville went from a $20,000 bill to Code Red to about a $1,500 to $2,000, I don't remember the exact amount, with iPause. So we talked about that, but in the process of even looking, HQE came to our attention. We did some research on them. If nothing else, they're definitely equivalent. There's a few things that we felt like they were better, and most of it comes from mass notification. And so what you see in front of you is the option A, which is a year-to-year contract. This year or the first year, if we so choose to move, would be $3,489.76. This year for Code Red is roughly $9,000. And we paid about $8,600 last year. This year would be $9,000. So you can see the cost decrease in this. If we sign a 5-year contract with them, you just see that the years after, instead of having a 7.5 increase, it's a 4.25 increase. We don't have to make a decision tonight, but I do want to kind of get any feelings from you guys. My push to do what Fayetteville did, which was to just go ahead and leave it in the hands of the citizens, comes with a cautionary tale, because we're, as a city, not taking any liability, I guess, to try to help the citizens. HQE is a way that we supply something to the citizens. And obviously it's a lot cheaper. It'll save us, I wrote it down somewhere, 5,000, a little bit over 5,000.
Contract come up again.
It was April. So we have about 2 months to make a decision.
Just background on HPV, they're, I'd say relatively new, by relatively new, they're not relatively new companies. These are ex-military guys that worked in intelligence for the military. They're all retired now, but they're still involved heavily with Department of Defense contracts. So they've got a big background in doing the same kind of logistics as notification and emergency stuff for the military. There's some sharp cookies, and they picked up some huge contracts on the West Coast. It's a big million population counties and cities there. So I think they've got the experience necessary. Definitely the examples they gave to us were much larger than we are.
Yes.
Are both of you in agreement after looking at both systems that this would be probably the better way to go?
Well, we definitely agree that it's equivalent, so I don't think we lose anything from going HQE from Code Red. Our issue with Code Red is that they failed us. So the thought of, give me 1 second, the thought of Code Red failing us, the truth is what they told us is probably 100%. They fixed the issue, we'll never have a problem again. But if you have two that's equivalent and one's costing you 9,000 and the other one's potentially costing you 3,500, it would make financial sense to go with the 3,500. Why give away $5,000? And so we still give the citizens what they need as far as a notification system. We get mass notifications and we and we get it at a discounted rate.
Like that was a sign. I look for it.
Yes, yes, sir.
My name's Phil Boger. I've got a degree in emergency management. But I used to live in Kansas where we got hit with tornadoes all the time. I've lived through 2 of the tornadoes going through Fayetteville. The one that went through the Fayetteville Mall and the Johnson that went into Springdale. We got the alerts that came through whatever system Fayetteville did well after the tornado went a block and a half east of our home because we lived in Johnson at that time. The second one that went through Fayetteville, I got the alert from U of A, who I was working for at that time, well after it went through here, and I was standing out in the front yard watching it skirt the edge of Prairie Grove. Never got an alert one from anybody other than I was talking with Garrett Lewis, because Channel 5, 4029 was like, oh, nothing's going on until, when I was talking with Garrett Lewis, I said, we got rotation in Prairie Grove. And Garrett Lewis is like, we got reports of rotation in Prairie Grove. We have a tornado touchdown in Prairie Grove. And it happened just that quick. I mean, I was talking with Garrett Lewis. And then well after the fact that it had already gone through Farmington and it already touched down in Fayetteville again, that's when the U of A had sent out for the college students to take cover.
Yep.
So I don't know whatever system they use in Fayetteville, but there's issues there.
They all utilize the National Weather Service. That's
Yeah.
probably, no matter what system you buy into, they're gonna take that National Weather Service.
You're paying a third party to give you the National Weather Services.
Players that are involved, there's a delay involved. Because they go to the National Weather Service, goes to the county goes to the city. So if we can figure out a system that eliminates the middleman, we're gonna be better off for our citizens.
Well, I don't know, thank you, by the way, and I don't know when Fayetteville did the transition, but that's why they did it, because they said, we're paying Code Red to give us the National Weather Services updates when we can use a free app to get the National Weather Services update. So why pay someone to give us what is out there free?
Would be better just to use the National Weather Service?
That's 100%.
We still need to do our due diligence
Yeah.
and try to get people to sign up.
Yeah. I mean, how many roughly do we know is on Code Red?
It's, so they gave us a number the other day and it was
3,000.
55 to 60%.
Yeah, it was a good amount. It was close to
Yeah, it's
4,000,
surprising.
38 to 3,900. We had a good
Hey,
amount.
Dr. Lance Campbell, does,
the rating system that you guys use, does it do weather also, or is it just emergency response?
We moved away.
You did, okay.
And to my knowledge, because I was on rave with y'all at the school district, I don't remember it doing, but
Is it
you may be
emergency?
able to, you may be able to pay for it, but we only use it for
Emergency.
yes, sir. So once again, we don't have to make a decision today, but we're getting close to the time where a decision has to be made. And
Do we need like some kind of notification, not for like emergencies, but for other?
Yeah.
Like,
well, and that's why, this is why Fayetteville went to IPAWS, so you had the mass notification. So if you had to go to boil order, if you had a water leak, if a street was closed, ice storms, yes. And so they used IPAWS to notify public for everything, and that's costing them somewhere around $1,500 a month. Once again, HQE has that designed in them, so you kind of now that's for, you pay per population. They have it, and we're trying to work with it. It's not as designed as, maybe as sophisticated as what iPause is. We can, yes.
for more like a water leak kind of thing.
And the way their zones is,
Yeah, okay.
the patterns, with iPause, you can almost just draw a circle and say, I want this neighborhood notified.
Okay.
We don't necessarily get that with Kuzi. We get regions.
What is iPod?
I don't know, haven't checked into it. It's costing Fayetteville with their population somewhere, it was between 1,500 and 2,000. So I imagine for us, we're probably under 1,000, but that's just a guess.
Would iPause be something that someone internal would have to?
Yes.
That's a concern of mine,
Mhm.
not that I don't trust y'all, but with as tight of staff as we have in emergency situation, to me, that's a really easy miss.
Yes.
Or like delay is, oh crap, we've got to open the shelter, and oh crap, we've got to do this. So for $2,000 more in
Mhm.
iPause and a system that will do this for us.
Well, I
Still
don't
have
think
to
the
pass.
iPause is for the emergency part of
No.
the notification,
No.
it's for the after the fact.
It's, you're still
So
doing
it
it.
wouldn't send any,
No.
we would push the National Weather Service
Yes.
and then
You would have to
iPause.
have both.
But this has both.
This-
3,000.
It has both, but you still have to do the mass notifications for yourself. All they doing is the emergency. Tornadoes coming in, National Weather Service, just like Code Red has told us that there's a tornado in your area, and they push that out automatically, so you don't have to touch anything.
But we'd also get the
Yes,
option.
And they have to go in and sign up for it, right?
yes. Now, we'll work with them on it. I mean, just like we did with Code Red, and so then we just have to push the agenda.
Like iPause or something like that, there is, you can farm phone numbers, and they'll do a search of phone numbers that were within a geographic area, and they can get a lot of them. But you're never 100%.
Right.
I just seen, where the school is using a Prairie weather system. I would like to look into that also before we make a decision to see the cost and what it does.
Will you send me that
Yeah.
information?
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Were we using it when the tornado came through?
We just got it
Cool.
last time.
Because to me, if we're both using the same thing, maybe it might work function.
Well, and part of the reason why we would Code Red is because most of Washington counties would. Code
Right.
Red.
So
And so it was just kind of, well, most of our areas would Code Red.
I say we should say, if we could look at what the school's using, Code Red and this other
Okay.
one, and then compare them all. And then maybe next month make a decision.
Yeah, but I say
Say
next
let's
month
do
we'll be getting pretty
Yeah.
tight on
it.
our,
And we-
on
and
our
we have to make a
timeframe.
decision.
And I'll try to send out multiple emails on whatever we get throughout the month. That way it'll be a little bit easier. Okay. Yeah.
My question with
Hmm.
tabling it, which I'm not against tabling it, but that leaves us now less 1 month to recruit people to switch back over. And April is probably prime time for tornadoes in
Mhm.
the area. So I am hesitant to delay this another month. Not that I'm
No.
against it, but I think we need as much time as possible to get a system switch over.
Is there something we could research like quickly with the next couple of weeks and maybe have a special,
Well, do we know what the school's paying for it?
Dr. Lance, would you, could you, what are y'all paying for your system?
3,000. Oh, 5,000 for us.
5,000?
Is that yearly? 5,000 yearly? Is that your yearly?
Does it provide the,
We
what,
had ours for lighting's very important, our kids are outside, but it does include everything like that. And we've actually got to look at weather, the tools that we get, that we ship to us next week. So we'll see. I don't know how great it is yet either. So I wouldn't put my name on it yet until we know. We just didn't have anything, so we had to come up with something.
Special meeting's a special meeting, when we can do that as well. We just have to move quickly on trying to get that information.
Whether it's the free app, but that's where all the information's coming from anyways.
Well, I do think Marie's got a valid point. It's
Mhm.
gonna be hard to get the information out to people in a timely manner. And if you do a mail out, you've just spent what the software costs to do a mail out.
Right.
that's,
I'm good.
Okay. Code Red 1 week, is it it's an automatic contract renewal, and is it a 1 year? Do you know if that's what it is? So if we don't make it, then we're in it for another year.
I don't know if it's automatic or not. It seems like they send out a renewal form, but don't quote me on that. I can't remember. I haven't really dealt with it.
I'm actually gonna make a motion,
Okay,
and I'm fine with it failing, just FYI. But we can sign a year-to-year contract. With us not knowing the reliability of the school, the system the school's using, I'm not against looking into that the next year. I would like to see them use it for a year first, but I think it's ill use of money to spend double for Code Red when this is an option for us right now that actually does more, it seems, for half the
Mhm.
price. So I make a motion, we adopt using HQE starting immediately and spending the next 2 months trying to get people transitioned over.
option A, the 1 year contract, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Let me say something else, Mayor. When we started on Code Red, it probably took 30 to 45 days for them to get all that information into the system to implement it. So we might ought to have that conversation with them ASAP, because if we let Code Red expire, we maybe have a gap there. They can't implement it that quickly.
okay. Well, I think with your motion, we're close to it, but if it does take us
Just
45
give us
days, we'll be
2
sitting
months.
right at
Hopefully that's
April.
enough time.
Mhm.
I second Bruce.
So I have a-
Jump on this real quick and do the yearly,
Okay.
see how it works out.
At the end of the day, I'd rather do something than do nothing
Right.
and us not have a system in place at all.
All right, I do have a motion by Bree, a second by Chris Powell on a 1 year contract with HQE in the total of $3,489.76. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Do I need a,
We'll bring the resolution. I mean, go ahead and start.
Yeah.
We'll bring the resolution back next week.
okay,
Formal.
a formal one? Are you okay with what we just did, Steve? Okay. Moving on to new business, we have our annual organizational discussion. Yes. Yes, sir.
Same question. Send out a test anytime at all.
Don't know the answer to that, sir. I'm sure they do, because I would have, let me say this, because there's some assumptions on there. Because Code Red probably would have done it if we would have called them and asked them for it, so it may be more of what the customer is requesting them for, but I do not know that answer off the top of my head.
Well, I think after what happened with Code Red, people feel a lot better if somebody put out a test once the system was set up.
Okay,
So we get an option for a test possibly.
yeah.
Okay.
I'll be in touch with them. I actually have a procedure tomorrow, so I have a sick day tomorrow, but I will be on the phone with them on Wednesday.
One thing we might ask them, Mayor, is that if the notifications part of the system works the same as the weather as far as notifying customers,
Mhm.
we could do the test ourselves.
Yeah, yeah.
And we could do it whatever frequency.
Okay. Thank you, sir. And new business is the annual discussion. And so I sent y'all out something on the reports of committee, the vice mayor. Most of all of that stays the same. It's really just allowing our newcomers to fill in some gaps. The one thing that is up for discussion, same discussion we had last year, is that we had a request from a few to examine a 6 PM start time versus a 6:30 start time. Would anyone like to motion a vote, or would y'all like to just keep everything as is?
I would like to stay with 6:30.
I'm making a motion, move it to 6.
Okay.
Tony made one.
You want to second that motion?
Tony, then I'm sorry, Tony.
All right.
Well, we do have a motion to move it to 6 o'clock. Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Aye.
Hold on.
Three.
Was it three? Was it Kevin? So we had, no vote from Kevin, Tony, and Bree. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 3.
Roll call.
Motion, okay.
Make sure.
We're gonna roll call it. That way we get our stuff right.
Okay.
So I do have a motion for a 6 PM start time. It was seconded by Chris Powell. I'm gonna have a roll call.
Chris Powell,
Yes.
Wetzel,
Yes.
Bree,
No.
Tony Cunningham,
No.
Doug Stumble,
Yes.
Kevin Andrews,
No.
Paula DeMars.
Yes.
Sue Pluck.
Yes.
Roll call, we usually do twice. Oh, we
For,
did.
for an ordinance, this should.
Okay, I'm just making sure. All right,
Aye.
5 to 3 pass on our annual discussion, and we'll see you next month at 6 PM. Item B is on to approve changes to the council meeting amendment and the 2025 March council meeting dates. And so let me pull this real quick just to kind of read it off. So everyone kind of gets the idea. So what we found out this year was that in March, we moved it to the 4th week because spring break was theoretically in the 3rd week last month, and then now spring break's in the 4th week, so now we overlap in spring break again. So we tried to use some vague language to allow us to be a little bit more free in March to keep us away from spring break. We also found out when we moved January and February to the 4th week, then it also messed with planning commission. So what we're requesting of you today is that beginning March 2025, regular meetings of the council will be held at the municipal building on the 3rd Monday of every month with the following exceptions. So your exceptions in January is instead of moving to the 4th Monday, we would just do the Tuesday after. So the Tuesday after Martin Luther King Day, in February, the Tuesday after. So that way we can observe President's Day on that Monday, and on March, it would be the 4th Monday of the month if spring break is on the 3rd Monday of the month. Otherwise, it will always be on the 3rd Monday of the month when deemed otherwise necessarily by the mayor. So what it does is it gives us a little bit of freedom to move in March. And what I'm asking y'all to do is to January, February, to just move it to Tuesday rather than the following week, so it doesn't continue to interfere with planning commission.
What's it do, Lions Club?
No. We're only on the first Tuesday.
We need a motion.
I do need a motion.
The ordinance.
Okay.
What's that?
Still need a
I
motion.
move to suspend the rules, place ordinance on first reading with title only.
Do the thing, a second.
All right, I do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Chris Powell,
Yes.
Audrey Wetzel.
Yes.
Bree Greg.
Yes.
Tony Cunningham.
Yes.
Doug Stumble.
Yes.
Kevin Andrews,
Yes.
Paula DeMars. Yes. Sue Pluck.
An ordinance to provide flexibility to council meetings.
First, suspend the rules, waive second, third reading, adopt ordinance.
Do have a motion?
Second.
I'm sorry, Bree, I jumped ahead of you. Do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Powell,
Yes.
Wetzel,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Cunningham.
Yes.
Stumble.
Yes.
Andrews,
Yes.
DeMars. Yes. Pluck.
Yes.
All right. Motion passes. Item C is the ordinance to amend the procurement policy, also known as threshold policy. Just to further explain this one, the threshold has already been moved to 42,921 because 5 years ago in your code, and that's the 30404, which you see deleted on what's in front of you. Basically, it was written that when the state moves, that we move. So January 1st, when the state moved from 35,000 to 42,921, we moved with them. The problem was that when we read the code, unless you went to 0404 and read two sentences that says if the state moves, that we move with them, everything else said 35,000. So we just felt that it was a little bit confusing and that it would probably be better for us to just come to you guys every time the state moves and just say, would you like to move with them? Once again, we're not asking you to necessarily move with it because we're already there. But what we're asking to do is just delete the automatic renewal and then change 01, 02, and 03 where it shows the actual amount that's in play right now, which is the 42,921.
Doesn't it lock it for 5 years, this, isn't it? Remember right, and then the state will reassess.
In 5 years, the state will reassess up with a
As far as inflation.
new value, but we'll just have to come back.
So just for the new one, can somebody define a procurement policy?
So in essence, when you do your budget, or when we present to y'all budgets in November, December, and y'all give us that budget. So in fact, we're about to talk about it. So Chief, y'all gave Chief $50,000 to buy a vehicle. If it's over 35,000, it doesn't matter that it was already a line item and that y'all gave him $50,000. If it's over 35,000, now 42,921, we still have to bring it back in front of y'all for another approval. So that's, yes.
It takes out, or requires.
Yeah. If it was less than that,
Then he can
then
go
we
on
can
with
just run with it. Mhm.
So we're making a motion to go with the state or stay with.
Remove.
We're moving with.
We're moving with the state.
Okay, our-
And Chris, the issue is if you looked it up online on code, and it says what our limit is, it says $35,000.
Right.
It says the city may purchase up to 30 without competitive bidding. Then you have to go down through the language of the codes before you see where it says that it's automatically adjusted to meet whatever it states.
Gotcha.
So the average person who looks at it's gonna think it's
35,000, yeah, okay. So we're just gonna fluctuate with.
We're just gonna make it so it's clear when somebody looks at it.
I like it.
We tried to make it easy and Larry. Well, that's confusing if somebody can read that.
It was confusing for me, because I
Right.
didn't remember we
You're,
did.
you're right, let's just do it every 5 years.
Okay. I agree.
Or remove the numbers on it.
Yeah, just run by it.
That would get us there.
Move spin the rules, please. Orders the first reading of title only.
Second.
Kevin Andrews. I have a motion by Doug and a second by Kevin Andrews. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Powell,
Yes.
Wetzel. Yes. Bragg.
Yes.
Cunningham.
Yes.
Stumbaugh.
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Whitmars.
Yes.
Clark.
An ordinance to amend procurement policy.
Move first spin the rules, waive second, third reading, adopt the ordinance.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Powell,
Yes.
Wetzel.
Yes.
Bragg.
Yes.
Cunningham.
Yes.
Stumbaugh.
Yes.
Andrews. Whitmars. Yes. Clark.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Can I clarify something real quick?
Please.
And this is for everybody, but even I knew it's more specifically, there are things we buy, like when we buy through state purchasing, where we don't go out for competitive bidding, even if it's over that dollar amount. The state's already done that. But we still have to bring it back to the council because it's over that amount. So we don't have to do the solicitation of bids process because the state's already done it. But we do have to take it back to the process. Usually that's vehicles.
Yeah. They still don't have to do trash bags. We used to have to do trash bags, because they were over that when it was
He
20.
buys them in smaller.
Before we move on to the next one, I just want to answer a question. Tony Googled HQE and it does say that they allow test runs on their system.
Do they do or?
It just says that it, so hopefully the user, we can run tests, on our system.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tony. And moving to item D. I didn't see the new one come out, but it does say Landers Dodge on this. It will be Lewis Automotive when we actually sign it as far as what we're asking y'all for today. Yes. So item D is a ordinance to waive competitive bidding for a vehicle for the Prairie Police Department. And I'll let, I think Chief sent out some literature to y'all, but I'll let him talk.
Get y'all got everything, I figured, so I actually called the state, I reached out to Fort Parker, called the state auditor, Jared spoke with him directly. Told him what we would do, he said, state doesn't give answers, that's like, that's an administrative decision. Told him, what's going on, he said that's kind of fine. On top of that, I went ahead and still reached out to Lander. Lander is typically where we get our, the Durangos and other police patrol units. So I reached out to them and said, hey, here's the truck that we're looking at locally, they got it on the lot, it's in stock. He said, well, I can order it, which would take 3 to 6 months. And even by ordering it, his price was almost $5,000 more with the exact same specs. So, besides ordering it and, wanting to get it now, the price was substantially higher. Also reached out to Red River Dodge, they would have to order them as well. Their prices, was over as well. In Superior, we use, to outfit our equipment. They provide the equipment and they can order cars from the state contract. So I reached out to them as well, just to see, hey, if they can get this same vehicle and beat this price, which that list to give us a really good price. And they couldn't beat that price either. They had some other vehicles. They said, well, we can get you into, a Silverado or a different make model that was completely different. So long story short, this price that Lewis gave us was by far the cheapest. They have it, so there's no waiting, no worry. It's just a matter of picking it up.
Which is why we're asking y'all to walk away from waiving competitive bidding.
Move the rules, place orders first reading title only.
Second.
Do we have a motion second? Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Powell,
Yes.
Wetzel,
Yes.
Bragg,
Yes.
Cunningham,
Yes.
Stumbaugh,
Yes.
Andrews,
Yes.
Bitmars,
Yes.
West.
An ordinance to waive competitive bidding for the purchase of a new police vehicle.
The first and the rules waive second, third reading about the order.
Second.
Do we have a motion and second? Any further discussion? Roll call.
Powell,
Yes.
Wetzel,
Yes.
Bragg,
Yes.
Cunningham.
Yes.
Stumbaugh,
Yes.
Andrews,
Yes.
Bitmars,
Yes.
West.
Motion passes. Thank y'all. And in conjunction with item D is item E, a resolution approving the purchase of the new vehicle for the Prairie Police Department for $44,000 from Lewis Automotive. Not much to say here. Just looking for a motion if y'all agree. So move.
Second.
Second.
I have a motion from Tony, a second from Bree. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
We had to drive it in parades with Lewis symbol on the side of it, so.
Nope, they didn't even reply to any of that. A resolution to authorize a contract with McCullen Construction Engineers Incorporated. This is the water line creek crossing. I think Mr. Ulrich is gonna fill us in a little bit.
This kind of started when, after we completed the water line rehab downtown, we still have 200, I think it's roughly $275 left over in our construction bond account for water projects. So that money can only be used for water line improvements. I told Chuck he needed to find something to spend it on, which is never hard to do when you're talking about water and sewer systems. There's always more need than there is money. This water line project is one I started back in 2018. I actually had McClellan's look at it back then, and they gave us some rough drawings. We kind of let it fall by the wayside because the contractor I had in place back then, the price that he wanted to do it was way more than what we felt like it was worth, or we're willing to pay. This project is, we have a 12-inch water line that feeds from our water tower south of the tank, or south of Prairie Grove. We rely on those water towers to provide storage for the city. The water treatment plant operates off the storage tanks. And then that water feeds into the city as well as Uton, which feeds from north of the city back into those storage tanks all the way to the south. So that's what develops pressure within the system and operates the system of those two storage tanks. One 12-inch water line is all that connects them. There's a creek crossing near the water treatment plant. It's been an issue for many years. It's actually washed out several times and we've added concrete underneath it, around it, beside it, on top of it. Just trying to protect it to make sure that it never washes out in a flooding event. We've done this enough times that we realize we need redundancy. So this is what this project would do, and build a secondary water line parallel to this one, but deeper. And the two lines would be tied together once they get past this creek. So provides the city with a redundant water line coming into the city and protects us from losing water.
under the creek, because Chuck was talking to me the other day. I think it's gonna.
Yeah,
put
they're
it-
planning on going much deeper than the existing line. The existing line, I'm sure, was deep when it was laid, but over time, it's, the elevation that we're talking about.
Case this one too, if they're playing. Put it in the pipe case.
Yep.
And
Is
that's
this something
told me
about
it's on
soccer
concrete. the whole
soccer
time.
fields, and everything that you're talking about?
No, it's out by Prairie Grove Lake Road, actually.
Oh, okay.
It's out in the middle of the field.
Oh, okay.
Move to approve the resolution.
Second.
Motion by Doug, second by Paula. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Resolution passes, and we'll move to item G, ordinance to rezone 105 North Baggage Street from neighborhood mixed use to mixed use business 2. With that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Overage.
South Bank, right behind the Flash Market. And when the city did its comprehensive rezoning back in May of last year, this area got rezoned to neighborhood mixed use. Neighborhood mixed use allows certain types of retail, like commercial, type activity. But typically, the types of activity that you would see in a structure like that, don't fall under a neighborhood mixed use. In fact, it's not allowed conditionally, most of the uses that you would find in a building like this, so they're typically not allowed at all in a neighborhood mixed use. The neighbor, you can see the property is right here at the border of it, and the Flash Market is here, so it butts up to the back end of the Flash Market. And,
That company's moving, actually, right?
that company's moving, another company is wanting to move in there, which is the problem. Currently, it's non-conforming use, which means anything that you zoned at the time is good, as long as they keep using it for that use or something similar to that use. I would say if a plumbing company moved back in, because there's an HVAC company there now, we would consider that similar. In this case, it's a totally different kind of use that is proposed to go in there. It's actually an equipment rental company. And
So that means stuff outside everywhere.
yes, there is gonna be outside equipment storage, and they have an existing facility downtown Prairie Grove now. They would face the same thing if they were trying to move into there, because they're non-conforming with downtown as well. But what they propose to do is just rezone this one little square, to mixed use B2, which allows most of the types of activities that you would see in a building like that. You know, I really think what we've done, and we're gonna run into more of these, I guarantee it. This particular structure really has limitations on what it can be used for.
How,
And
how close is the two zonings? How close are they? I mean, like, when you rank them, like the density or like, are they like one, we're just going like one step up, I guess, be the way I'm trying to word it.
Not really, I mean, it's hard to say, when we talk about commercial zones, there's really not a way.
Not like we're jumping way
Yeah,
different.
I mean, it would allow a garage, automotive garage to go in there, it would allow plumbing supply, it would allow, none of those uses are currently allowed in neighborhood mixed use.
Okay.
I think you're right. What we did was really good, but there's gonna be outliers all along, just like this.
And the planning commission approved this by a 5-1 vote.
Mr. Overage, did it,
To
To rezone.
rezone it.
It would just be, I mean, typically we never want to see a spot zone like that where you just have an isolated
Right.
zone. But in this case,
So what, it would be rezoned to what?
it would be rezoned to mixed use B2.
And which would be
B2 allows most commercial use.
much commercial, just not industrial.
No, you couldn't put it in that.
Okay.
But if somebody wanted to use it for an automotive garage, something like that, it would allow.
No.
Larry, does that have to be paid?
We had a discussion the other night. We do think that that's gonna have to be paid. I haven't addressed that yet with the property owner, because I wanted to see if it got rezoned first. So I'll
I think it
probably
would have
have
to
that
be.
discussion tomorrow.
I would say it would need to be.
Mr. Overage, any fence lines? Or could that be, does it,
I actually looked in the ordinance the other day to see if any screening would be required, and I can't find anything that would require screening to be retroactive. I think the paving is because of the change in the use of it,
gotcha.
but I can't find anything that required them to fence it. If they were building new, yes, it would.
Were there any comments
No.
from anyone?
There was not. I think the one person that voted against, there's a little concern about the apartment complex back here, and, you know, they started at their foot early in life.
So
To be honest, that commercial building was
now
down long
it's
before those
next to the federal
apartments were
apartments,
built. They built
across from the
apartments knowing that building was there.
Right.
One single family house to the south.
And they're right across the street, there's.
Yes, there is across Bank Street.
It's not required.
Most of those equipment that they have, that they run fairly quiet. I mean, they're not much louder than the cars that they have.
And I don't know that he gets there all that early now. That was just a concern of one of the planning commissioners. I'll be honest with you, he's here. You don't get there. You're trying to say I don't get out of there?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I expect to see Robin there at 6 a.m.
I'm moving past ordinance rezone.
If that's what Mike gets in that day.
You moved to suspend the rules, but or for first reading time.
That's how only, yes.
I'll second your motion.
I do have a motion and a second. Before we vote, any further discussion, even from the audience, since it's a rezoning?
I'm just looking, where are you gonna have?
Robin, do you want to say anything?
This is Fiddler's deal, because we were obviously waiting. No, I mean, if anybody has any questions or any, have a question.
What do you have to pay
I mean,
that road?
listen, as far as the early deal,
You have to pay that road?
you know, in emergency.
There'll have to be some paid parking
Situation,
on that
It's
side.
gonna be
Part of that
very
parking lot
long.
will have to be paid. It's only costing back so far.
That's the only reason why we'd be there super early or super late. You know, I would say during the snow, we were down there about midnight, you know, getting some equipment for Ozarks Electric. But we're gonna be good neighbors.
Robin, I don't think we could,
We're butted up against apartment buildings where we're currently at now. So we've not had anyone, complaints.
I don't think we can restrict this anyway, Robin, but how much pieces of equipment do you imagine would be outside the building versus inside the building?
I'm not gonna leave very expensive machines outside of things to get started.
Yes, sir.
So I'm gonna try to, you know, obviously pack everything. That's my plan. If we grow beyond that, we're gonna grow beyond the growth range.
Yes, sir.
So,
Do you need a fence put up for security on the facility?
there's actually a fenced in area on the, east side of that building, that will be more than that.
Okay.
With what we can't get inside. It's just, obviously, there's very many reasons if folks know where we're at, it's hidden, but the silver thing is fine.
This is more visible.
A little bit more visible, gives us some more opportunities to do some other things, and, you know, with the, as me and you discussed, as you guys get into more of the second phase of your water, downtown, that the first time was a struggle with us with trailers. And, more so we got to get out of where we're at.
Yes, sir.
So, and I'm not saying it's not for any other business. We foresee it being a little rougher, so. The opportunity came to do something like that, but I was trying to jump on.
Yes, that's the same.
Well, y'all, currently, we do have a motion made by Chris Powell and a second by Doug. Any further comments from the council? Roll call, please.
Powell,
Yes.
Wetzel. Yes. Bragg.
Yes.
Cunningham.
Yes.
Stumble.
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Bitmars. Yes. Buck.
Ordinance to provide for the rezoning of certain lands in Prairie Grove, Arkansas, currently owned by Fort Fiddler's Holdings LLC. Modification of the zoning map, amendment of the zoning ordinance.
First, suspend the rules, wait a second, third reading, adopt the ordinance.
I do have a motion by Doug and a second by Kevin Andrews. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Powell,
Yes.
Wetzel. Yes. Bragg.
Yes.
Cunningham.
Yes.
Stumble.
Yes.
Andrews. Bitmars. Yes. Buck.
Ordinance passes. And we'll move to item H, which is a city ordinance to approve the preliminary plat for the Heritage subdivision on South Mall. And once again, Ms. Overage.
You can see this plat was labeled SMH, which stood for South Mock. I don't know what the H was, but anyway, they changed it to Heritage Subdivision, maybe it's South Mock Heritage #3, I don't know. It's Heritage Subdivision, this is one that the Planning Commission approved at their last meeting, for recommendation for approval by the City Council. Approximately, I think there were 67 lots, JC, is that right? One of the more interesting things about this subdivision is it does have connection directly to Highway 62, right here. And then it connects back to Mock Street over here. This is where they previously had approved for townhouses. They're taking the townhouses out, it'll just be single family homes now. And everything pretty much basically meets the minimum requirements.
The gravel roads, Larry, does that go to like the lift station and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And what they propose is a paved hammerhead turnaround from here, which meets the requirements for a turnaround.
Okay. I mean, that's big enough for us to get city equipment down there to that lift station.
Yes, and fire department is satisfied with it for the turning power truck.
Well,
That's 60/50. Yep. Yeah, they're actually proposing the contention on both sides of the road. Here's the contention. Yes, and they're making.
Yeah, big commercial, okay, so I thought it was okay. I'm trying to picture where it's at.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think this is a city question, but is there gonna be a center lane? Is there a center lane right there right now? Like.
Center turn lane, no, there is no center turn lane from Butler Street to the west.
I'm just thinking about the traffic. I mean, it's great. It's coming out 62, but.
That's highway department, so we don't have any say so on that. As population grows, then highway department will have to decide how they want to expand the highway.
Highway department, when they acquired their right of way, they acquired the right of way for 4 lane to extend all the way to Lincoln, or not all the way to Lincoln, but all the length of this bypass. And they've had a minute order before the commission for 6-7 years for that widening, but they never have pushed it forward. So they'll continue to list it as a future project, but they haven't put it on that project list and moved it forward yet. So I'm sure they're watching traffic counts is what they're watching.
Where that comes out on 62, there will be a bad accident there, because those Lou Thompson trucks come flying down that stretch of road early in the morning, and since that road's put in, somebody's gonna pull out in there, and they're gonna get hit if that little stretch of road's put in. And it's more likely it'll be a fatality accident.
We have,
Yeah.
yeah, and this isn't the only street that attaches to 62 that's not.
That's not connected yet.
We have others, Butler, for example, doesn't have any kind of traffic control on it. Apple Hill Road doesn't have any kind of traffic control on it.
They go flying right through that second.
Let's spin the rules, place the horse first reading title only.
Second.
Mr. Kevin. Okay. I do have a motion by Doug, second by Bree. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Powell,
Yes.
Wetzel,
Yes.
Bragg,
Yes.
Cunningham,
Yes.
Stumble,
Yes.
Andrews,
Yes.
Ditmars.
Yes.
Cluck.
Yes.
An ordinance to approve the preliminary plat of the Heritage subdivision.
There's first spin the rules, waive second, third reading, adopt ordinance.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Powell,
Yes.
Wetzel,
Yes.
Bragg,
Yes.
Cunningham,
Yes.
Stumble,
Yes.
Andrews,
Yes.
Ditmars.
Yes.
Cluck.
Item I is a resolution approving a contract with WWC, which is our attorney, Steve Parker. There's nothing that has changed from year to year, but we do renew his contract every year, and so we're just asking y'all to renew his contract once again.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion from Bree, a second from Doug. All in favor, say aye.
We got a good 5 seconds.
Opposed, same sign. Resolution
Well, for a
passes.
minute there wasn't part.
Drag it
I can.
We have a resolution, item J is a resolution giving Matt Falk the authority to open up an account with Priority Bank for construction loan for $700,000 for the police department expansion and authorizing the personnel to sign. The personnel would be myself, city clerk Melissa Dotson, and bookkeeper Laurie Newman. I did send out some stuff to y'all on Arvest Banks, 5.95. And then Priority lowering that to 399, excuse me, 499. And, excuse me, saying this wrong. The original was 499. They lowered it to 399. I reached back out to Bank of Fayetteville just so we had the 3 local banks again. Left messages today, talked to one person. They were supposed to call me back. Never called me back, which is what happened the first time. So I'm not too sure why Bank of Fayetteville doesn't want the business, but they evidently don't want the business. So we do have a resolution to approve, me signing with Priority Bank so we can get the construction loan for the police department expansion.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion by Doug, a second by Bree. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Resolution passes. And then we have a somewhat quick presentation on the growth, which was a school report that Dr. Campbell did. And I will do my best not to bore you on stuff that doesn't pertain to us. Zanda Education, which they paid for, is the #1 demographic in the state of Texas. They work with Arkansas, Colorado, Georgia, Missouri, Oklahoma, North Carolina, South Carolina. They've been doing it for over 18 years. That's just to give you a little back feed on why they use them. You see, obviously, the school district is a lot different from the city. Their population is over 14,000, 5,000 households. The rest is just good information for you guys to see as far as our median home value being right under 300,000 and our median home household income being 74,000. Once again, it's just good information. Unemployment right here in our area is 2.6. National average is 4.4, and in Arkansas it's 3.4, so below national average. That is the state enrollment, and you can see obviously there was a big drop after COVID, and then some increases after that. This is where we really start looking at what the city or how the city impacts our school district. So, basically from 2013 to 2015, where we had some lows in it, you've watched a big increase. And even though we've watched a somewhat of a steady decline, if you take the last 3 years, you're really looking anywhere from 300 to 400 as far as every single year coming into this area, as far as houses. We finished last year giving out 202 permits. So out of that 318, and I think y'all did this study September, October, so there was still a few months left in this one. We imagine they probably got to the 350, very similar to 2023. So we account for a little bit over 200 of those homes that are coming into our school district. More of the housing market analysis and just the prices of our homes. And this is where you really see what we do. Now, at the time, they were talking about roughly 6 subdivisions that were in Prairie Grove and 1,200 lots. I actually did a little bit of an update, and that's what's in front of you guys on what we actually have on paper right now. Hillcrest is over by Thornton, but it is in their school district. Hudson Heights, everyone knows, it's over here by Bush Street. They've completed phase 1 and looking to phase 2 and beyond. Mountain View, right off the bypass, Buffalo Road and Hawks, 178 total lots. I apologize, Hudson Heights, 223. Salem Meadows, 156 lots, once again off the bypass, Buffalo Road. Well, I have this up, well, it actually comes up in this slide, I apologize. Snyder Grove is doing some latter parts of their phases, 7 and 8 is what they're currently doing right now. 208 total lots, and there's a lot of movement in that area over there. There's a lot of movement on that side, and of our town, running bypass, Wagon Springs, 116 total lots. Poplar Hills, one of our, in fact, our biggest to date, 541. Construction is underway, even though no houses have been built. The Wagon Wheel West is another one up towards Farmington, not really our problem, but it is a problem for the school. Cactus Jack duplexes, that one's kind of been back and forth. Larry, do we have an update on that one?
We haven't heard anything from them probably in 6 months. So we're wondering what the viability is if we're gonna go forward with that.
Okay, so that one's 26 lots, may not happen. This is the Mott Street, this was the Family Bird. There's townhomes, and so 34 lots, that one looks like it's gonna go through and something that we had just recently passed. This is the one, used to be 22 lots, now it's 67, the one that Mr. Older just talked to you about in Heritage. I'm just trying to give you a quick update. Stonewall Drive plat. The people that are looking into this have already purchased the property. They have to be annexed in, so they have a long process of coming before, not only just the planning commission, but you guys, we've heard anywhere from 400 to 500 lots over here. So you can see where we can rapidly expand, and then all of a sudden, when we talk about the Copper Hills, you could have a second Copper Hills coming in if they go through everything you passed.
And Mayor Falk, in the final numbers on that, they do not have 400 homes included
Okay.
for our kids and the growth of our kids.
This one is the Heritage and Butler Apartments. That was passed, and then we had to turn it back down because we didn't do our due justice on notifying the public. They have came back and forth with a few different ideas. Most of it is commercial. Those apartments don't exist right now, even in concept. We have talked to the developer that has bought this process from the Bartholomew's back on the backside of this property. I don't remember the acreage, maybe it's about 20 acres. And they would be very similar. They want a mixed use commercial where they'll do some strip malls, an activity center and some apartments. So you could basically just move that over. And so you're probably looking at something very similar, maybe even a little bit bigger. But that's another thing that's just in concept and that we're in talks with the developer on. The land has purchased, he will develop something. We just not too sure to what extent. This is just a breakdown of how the students are distributed. And obviously you see most of it is currently in our city. Birth rates, we just go on. The 10-year forecast and grade level. And this is something that I think is real important when we consider school. And before I go any further, let me just say that it's not necessarily the city's problem to worry about the school. But we're in partnership with the school as far as them being the supplier for education for our kids, and to make sure that we're in good connection with the school and how we build directly affects them. So every decision we make is going to affect the school to a certain extent, and they're trying to play catch up with the building that we're on. So if you look past the 2024, 2025 year, and you really look into 2027 to 2030, you start seeing some pretty big increases where we're looking at high fives, close to 6 on the increase. What the panel looked at is what we have on paper right now, how long it would take them to build up, and how would that influence the school as far as an influx of population within their school building. And you see within the next 5 to 6 years, the school is going to get hit with a pretty significant population increase because of the growth that Prairie Road is seeing. This does the same exact thing just by campus level. Let me show you this just a second. I'm moving a little bit too fast. Currently, and I'm assuming these numbers are still pretty accurate. 2,152 is what is in the school system now. 10 years from now, they're looking right under 3,000. So 2,981 in 10 years. So roughly 800 to 900 extra
That's gotta be pretty
students.
conservative also.
So
That's gotta be pretty conservative just for
Yes.
800 growth for a
yeah,
10 year.
I'm about to show you
Yeah.
I'm about to show you the non-conservative, but you're 100% right. This is them looking at the fact that the growth pattern stays conservative and that we don't continue to approve new buildings. new developments. And so then that's just campus by levels. The key takeaways is what we just talked about, the influx going to 3,000 in the next 10 years. And this is the high scenario. So if Prairie Grove continues to be Prairie Grove, and you hear this next month in my State of the City address, cities generally don't stay stagnant. Like, you don't just sit. People are either leaving your city or they come into your city. And the wonderful thing is, we've been blessed enough to be the city that people are coming to. But like we always say, and we coin this, is that it's a problem. It just happens to be a good problem to have. People want to be in Prairie Grove. But if we continue to approve, you'll start seeing where now we're looking at almost 3,500 instead of 2,900. And if you look at the next 5 to 6 years, you start seeing those 6%. And here, where it was supposed to drop off and go back down to 2%, they stay in a little bit at 4.4, 4.3, 4.9. And so myself and Dr. Campbell, after hearing this, we really wanted to just show that to not just the public, but also to the council, to show the impact that the city is having on the school district, and understand that the school district is going to have to make some pretty good decisions going forth on building a new elementary school and different stuff like that. So if we want to keep on building, and I believe we do, like we're pushing development in many cases. I don't know if that's the right word, but you know, we're at a spot where people want to be here, and we don't have a moratorium on anything. We're not stopping stuff. And so developers want to come, the land's available. And so if we keep on building, then the school has to move quickly on the development of buildings. And they'll probably need some support from the city and from our administrators, if nothing else, by vote only. When someone walks into a place to cast a vote, it is what it is when you're behind the curtain. But we can see where we pushing and putting a lot of pressure on the school district. Is there anything I'm missing, anything that you would like to add to it?
No, we're, like you said, we're sitting at about 2162 right now, as of today. But about 700 kids in our elementary school, which is a lot, K through 3.
773. That was the count today, actually.
770, I think you got pre-K, yeah. And then for our middle school, we're at 545 kids. Junior high is about 325, and high school is about 615. So when we complete the junior high, we will be 26 in the grade. We'll move 9th grade down. So we'll run a 7 through 9, junior high, 10 through 12 in high school. Lots of opportunity for growth there. We can absorb that. We cannot absorb what's about to happen to us at our elementary and middle school. Right. And that's just our reality. I mean, that's a building. 500 kids is a building for us. Yep. And we will be in a pickle if we don't act pretty quick. So our board's gonna have to make a decision next month if we're gonna increase the millage or not. So that's something we'll make a request for. We want to be transparent about that. You know, it takes 2 years to build a school, and if we wait till 26, 27, we're in trouble. So our thoughts are we've got to act pretty quickly. It's not what we want to do, but it's something that I think is it's not a want, it's a need, because we definitely don't want portables outside of our buildings.
And if nothing else, I'm trying to make it where it's not I'm pushing you into something, but we are the support to the school district. And if we want to keep on growing, then we have to take into consideration the pressure that it puts on the school and the education that our children get. And so
when can you get millage on the ballot?
Hey,
Matt, the board has to vote in favor. They vote every year in May to keep it the same or increase it, or in February, I'm sorry. You'll have to do that either way next month.
What kind of increase you looking at?
We had a work session in January. We're looking at a 4.6 millage increase. If you didn't know, the millage has gone down the last 3 years.
Mhm.
You know that. Doesn't mean the revenue hasn't gone up. We understand that too, right? But it's 40.6. I think we're the third at the bottom. We're right above Farmington. They're also looking at a millage because of the growth that they're experiencing as well. So that would raise us up to about 44 and some change. For the meals. What we learned is for $100,000 home, it costs you $60 a year. For a $300,000 home, which is our average, it's $180 a year. That's what we're gonna have to get out and sell.
And I think Farmington voted tonight, aren't they?
Yes, sir. There's about $36 million as well. And it's the good thing for us. Our board's there's an opportunity for us to stretch our debt out. If you close it the 2043, we're gonna push it to 2053. And schools are always in debt. We're all trying to get out of debt. Schools are always gonna stay in debt. But that'll open up $10 million for us. That $10 million will be used for our school. We're just gonna need support with the community on the rest of that.
Thank you, Dr. Hamel.
Thank you.
No. Yeah, if nothing else, it gives us all just a little bit more knowledge to what the growth of Prairie Grove does to all aspects of it and maybe possibly what the school needs as far as our support or non-support, depending on what side you're gonna go on, but that's the reality of where we sit today.
Could we get like talking points? Cause, or like push points from either y'all or the city on like a condensed version of this, when people ask cause like the $60 a year on $100,000 home, which we know is not basically existent here, but even $180 a year isn't that scary of a number. When you don't know a number, you're like, well, is it gonna be 1,200? If you could give us some help, yes.
That's proof that they will generate.
Okay, thank you.
And we will ask the board to select, it's approved by the board. Each board member will select 2 individuals from the community, and that'll be our committee regarding this issue.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
We'll move to reports of committee. Anyone that you would normally give over to Chuck, I have his notes, so you want to welcome, just toss it back to me if you don't have anything to say. So reports of committee, sanitation, Sue Clark.
Chuck's feeling better, he's not feeling well, so y'all look at him, and this team's been working really hard. Chuck and I have been emailing back and forth, but he also wanted to mention before he left tonight, in the future, maybe on the horizon, they will be bidding on a truck. What kind of truck? I don't know.
A trash truck.
Trash truck, there you go. Wasn't sure. That would make sense. Okay, and then I have some reports for us about, we've been talking about yard waste, and so we're just gonna summarize kind of what we talked about. You guys know it's a little lengthy, but I'll try to be quick. So the collection of residential yard waste and brush is currently free, but with the city's growth and inflation, the volume of yard waste has increased to the point where the city is unable to consistently burn brush and will need to transfer it to a third-party provider. The estimated annual cost for this service is about $24,469.23, which includes payroll for 1 part-time employee. It's about $13,000 and some change, and 2 monthly dumps using a trash truck, excluding truck maintenance and fuel costs. So it's just becoming unsustainable. I wanted to keep in mind about disposal challenges, which is after storms, debris has historically been hauled to the wastewater facility and burned when the conditions are safe. But again, that is no longer sustainable. The Boston Mountain Transfer Station is the cheapest disposal option for us. They charge us $59.36 for a ton because we're premium haulers, but it has restrictions such as not accepting yard waste bags. If that is not the case, we may have to have containers, which just adds to our trash talk of stuff the containers that we're talking about. Boston Mountain takes it to Fayetteville, and Fayetteville will not take the items that we want to dispose if they have trash, ropes, or chains, nails, or bags, and most of the time, that's it. So yard waste collection currently utilizes a trash truck for collecting compact waste, but volume-based fees are difficult to calculate due to the variable amount of waste from each household. I'm going to skip a few of this, but I think just because I've used it before, I think we need clarity. We're still going to talk about it. Residents are not charged for the service, but with continued growth, providing the service free of charge is becoming increasingly costly for the city. There's a lack of clarity regarding what qualifies as yard waste versus brush, and whether yard waste bags are acceptable for collection. That's to be continued. Some things we want to talk about, and I wanted y'all's opinion to introduce a fee-based service. I think Farmington charges $5 for a similar service. I don't know what we would want to do. I believe per pound, it's I did the math. It's a little, cents. 0.035 a pound if we wanted to take it to Boston Mountain. Also establishing clear directions for the yard waste versus brush will eliminate confusion with everybody. These are just suggestions, possible solutions that we throw back and forth. Introduce structured schedules for yard waste pickup and communicate these schedules to residents. Explore the possibility of setting a cap on the amount of yard waste picked up each month to manage costs and expectations. partner with third-party providers, continue to work with Boston Mountain Transfer Station, to confirm their ability, investigate the possibility of using yard waste bags, we all need to still talk about that. Some questions we have for the future, and would love to hear your opinions too, is differentiating between yard waste and brush. Can Boston Mountain accept both brush and yard waste still? When the online scheduling and payment system make it easier for us, would it be more cost effective, would it be more efficient? Because I honestly don't even understand what it is now. I think it's like whenever they're available, is that right? I thought I was talking.
I think so.
Okay,
I think part of the year they have a part-time person, but I think it's seasonal.
and then.
I think it works kind of mainly in the summer. I think,
Yes.
to
Right.
handle a lot of the
You know,
grass.
there's season is high and it's low.
Mhm.
There's so many questions. I don't,
Was that the 24,000 included the salary of the part-time employee?
don't.
It probably, we were paying Alan somewhere around 7,000, 8,000 last year. It was included.
Didn't count the truck.
Yeah.
Correct.
And it doesn't include disposal, right?
Yeah, the disposal is where we get, and when we talk about a free service, we're talking about putting it in a bag, small run of brush. If someone chops down a tree, and then we're gonna pick up the tree that's sitting in front of their house, 15 minutes or half an hour? The first 15 minutes are free, and then we have a charge after that.
$100 an hour, but we'll break that down in 15-minute increments, so if they're there or not in 15 minutes.
What we had found is that in that service is that we're grossly less than a tree service. And so what people do is, I'm gonna pick on Doug for a second. Doug's got this big oak tree in his front yard, so he pays the tree service to come in and knock it down. And the tree service wants to charge him a ridiculous amount to remove it, not just knock it down, but to remove it, dispose of it. And Doug goes, nah, the city will come pick it up for $100. And so it would be silly to pay them $1,500 if the city is gonna come do it for $150.
Those fees have been in place for probably 20 years.
Yes.
Mhm.
Take the pay.
And so what we find out is that none of our citizens pay the tree hauler to remove it. It falls on us, and we're kind of in a pickle here from what we've done in the past to where we're moving in the future. Once again, more population, more services, and it's eating into any revenue that you would have on the sanitation side. And if we have to start going to Boston and Mountain and actually paying for the transfer station to take it, which is what we're supposed to be doing, it's gonna be astronomical. And so we have to, as a council, and we may need Chuck here to get the figures, but y'all have to start thinking about the idea of whether or not we should just remove the service, or if we should at least match what the tree service company would do. That way, we're not trying to turn a profit, but we at least have to break even on stuff like this. We have to make sure that we're paying for the employee, we're paying for the gas maintenance and service, and then we're paying for the disposable fee, and we're nowhere even close to that right now.
Thing that worries me about not picking up the grass clippings is then they haul the bag and dump it over their fence into the utility easement, and then there's this big pile of rotting
Or
grass.
Take it to a local dumpster.
Yeah.
or-
Yeah,
Yeah.
they'll stick it in the downtown dumpster somewhere or something, so.
Anyone from the public want to comment? We got two of them.
Be an option. They mulch all of theirs and they put it back.
I see Larry smiling. We did mulch for a little while, and it is more complicated than we thought. Most of it comes down to when you get these big piles, no one separates anything. It goes back to the disposal. Like if there's anything inside those bags, then transfer stations won't take it. But we would have people come out and dump their bags or dump their stuff, and then they would have trash inside of it. So then we're paying someone so then you have to have someone out there manning it constantly to manage what's coming in and what's coming out.
Right. But they'll have a whole staff
yeah.
of people that manage that facility, as well as probably $250,000 worth of machinery that tops that.
Yep,
stuff
and
up.
that was gonna be my next step. So our chipper, I think it was maybe 3-inch, well, I don't know, it was very small. And so it wasn't the old dump where you just go in, no matter what you get in, everything's getting shipped up. It's not that simple. So when they would come and dump their big tree logs, then we're sitting off to the side. Now there's another station trying to wait for this stuff to rot for 20 years. So when it becomes, we have to burn it or we have to dispose it. So yes, that can be talked of, but now you're talking about operational cost versus the idea of returning mulch back to someone. It's a massive undertaking.
And I will put a little experience,
Yeah, you got a little bit.
you're talking $1 million for
Yes. Mhm.
easy.
You're not talking about a chipper like
That
the
includes big
administrator.
Fable and tough.
You're talking.
They don't pay it,
Yeah.
no matter what it is, but it
It's
bounces
awful.
and it.
Spend post.
Yeah, and then on top of that, you're talking about the contamination of waste. For example, is, say, at Fort Smith, I sold a grinder 10, 12 years ago. It was 6 months old, somebody put a Chevy engine block in their trash or in their wood waste.
Mhm.
It was a good day for our service spot.
And robbing a drum chipper nowadays is $4 million.
Oh, no, a drum stripper, you know, a 12-inch drum stripper like you had. But not in 60.
Well, I'm talking about the big ones that they don't.
Oh, big dump grinder, no, you're
Dump
still talking 600,000, 700,000 per.
Yeah, okay, so even more.
But a horizontal grinder is what you're gonna want, because you're not gonna want a tub grinder, from the state. You're gonna spend $1 million before the loader, before the screen.
Well, I'm gonna say it's a talking point, but it probably, the money doesn't exist. Yes, sir.
Just pick up like the yard waste, like the grass clippings. And you would haul that and dump it some, like on a lot, and let it compost, that would turn into dirt. Would that dirt then be able to be used in like a city fill project? For backfilling, to where the city wouldn't have to buy dirt from a contractor standpoint for project.
Which you're asking for, I mean, potentially, yes, right? But everything has a potential, yes. If we can pick up enough, if we can manage it long enough, and if we can wait the time in which that it would biodegrade, turn into it. And so if you get that rotation going, but it once again goes back to what Mrs. Cluck was saying, which is how do we, last year, we kind of lucked into the part-timer in the idea that we lost someone who was a long-term employee and we didn't replace them immediately. And so we had money in the bank to be able to bring in the part-timer in to help us with the brush. And so now we're trying to figure out how do we retain that or even grow the idea of it. And so it kind of goes down to the same thing. Who's the full-time employee on it? Because I'll tell you right now, we don't have the budget for that full-time employee. And then for someone to maintenance it and watch it, it's probably cheaper to just go buy the dirt. But I mean, that's without me doing a financial analysis and wondering that just throwing stuff off the top of my head. But most cities don't do that because I think it costs more to create the dirt than it is to buy the
The
dirt.
problem with compost is you have to work compost.
Mhm.
Okay, you gotta have air, you gotta have water, all those things have to be repeatedly
Agitated.
agitated into it. So it's a manpower thing as well as, have air and everything to do it. If you do it the way we've been doing it for years, just dump it and let it take the course. It takes about 3 to 4 years for that grass clipping to turn into something that's usable. So it's a long, and it sits out there for a long period of time. But by far the biggest issue we've always had is contamination.
Mhm.
We require biodegradable bags, which are great, but you know what everybody does with biodegradable bags? They stuff all their yard trash in the bottom of that biodegradable bag, stuff their grass clippings on top of it where you can't see it. And then we don't know it until those bags start to disintegrate. And we end up probably with more trash in those piles, which makes it unusable or somebody picking it out by hand. Than we ever benefit from it. So it's always been a problem, always will be a problem. I don't know if there's any 100% cure.
Yeah, I don't believe a decision has to be made tonight. You just need to know what we're starting to think of and how we need to go.
I think it's gonna get to the point of charging a fee.
Yes, and we have to come up with the fee and I'll have Chuck start working on what that really should look like. Or we have to decide to end the program and we can
Cities
pick
that
up some
offer
grass
volunteer
clippings,
fee
different
too.
stuff like
You
that.
can Add yard waste to your service. If you don't pay that fee, you're not eligible for yard waste pickup. Problem is then whoever does the pickup has to keep track of those, those addresses, but.
Are people not allowed to, what's the city rules on burning? Because
It's illegal, it's illegal in Arkansas to burn anything like trash and.
That
yard
went
waste,
back to the
stuff like
chief,
that.
You could.
I think it's been like that since like 1972.
As long as it's not a process wood. Now, you can burn a tree branch, but you cannot burn two of them.
Not in Prairie Grove, you can't. I mean,
Well, no, I was, Steve was asking about state.
yes,
law.
yes.
State law, you
Okay.
you burn.
Our ordinance doesn't allow you to burn anything.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Unless it's in a fireplace or.
A fire pit.
Yeah.
So they can't burn, like if they cut down a tree, has some branches, and they want to burn the branches, they have to
No.
burn, cut it off, burn the fire.
They're,
We didn't have people that.
Cut it up in the fire pit.
A lot of people do.
Yeah.
So we do have a big undertaking with that, and I'll ask Chuck to start updating y'all. He wanted to start with the council member over sanitation, just to give Sue a heads up of what's been going through his mind and what is the steps that we have to take as far as at least decision making. And so we'll try to update y'all over the next few months. But I mean, let's just be honest, it's kind of like Code Red and HQE, spring's coming. And so when spring comes, we're gonna be working our tail off picking that stuff up. And so it's not one of these things that the faster we move, the better. Life is what it is, and we'll continue to do the process until y'all make a different decision. But we would like to at least discuss it in this year and try to start making a decision on what we
Schedule
need to
sounds
do.
good too. Instead of just calling in and list like they go around like the sanitation schedule.
Yeah.
If we ever have another major weather event similar to what we had in 2009, we no longer have the land
Well,
that's capable of handling.
Right.
In 2009, we had all that area that's open in front of the sewer plant, and we're able to stage everything there. All that's taken up with sewer
I'm-
plant now. I
I'm-
mean, it's completely covered.
I'm glad you brought that up because that was in my notes, and the backside of our sewer plant, we building a berm back there because there's nothing else we can do with the stuff. We don't have the money to dispose of it, and yet we keep on picking it up and we can't burn it. So we really just building a berm behind our sewer plant. And so, and we're running out of room because we keep on expanding our sewer plant because of population growth. And so we're definitely in a transition period in which decisions will have to be made.
When he's looking, can we look at like a third party contract as well and see if anyone offers a competitive, like that way it could be completely. I know oftentimes in-house is cheaper, but if it's outside, out of mind, but it's still an option for our citizens, then that might not be a bad look either.
You have anything else, Mrs. Clark? And I will say, because it's another thing that we'll talk about, as we're talking about ordering a truck. Chuck is starting to work on the specs, but we've talked about bins versus bags and whether or not we should go to a side-arm truck so we could kind of start pushing the idea of bins. We're not ready to have that discussion with y'all tonight, but I do want you to know that we're all looking at different prices of both of those as we spec some stuff out. And with that,
Doesn't he have open? Didn't I see all posted?
yeah, we did. Mhm.
One of our drivers had I think he had family issues in another area of the state, needed to be closer to family.
So opening sanitation, if anyone knows anyone looking for a job, or if you yourself are looking for a job. Secondary, CDL, yes. Street Department, Audrey Wetzel. Defer to me. Okay. Chuck says it's business as usual. They're working on sidewalk extensions on Kate Smith, Pittman, and Buchanan Street. And I wanted to talk to y'all a little bit about the hobby COA, and that's code 81201 that I sent y'all. So in essence, hobby COA means a COA truck that the resident works on or tinkers with as a hobby. So as we started cleaning up our city, what we have found is that the hobby COA permit has become a pretty hot token for anyone that has moved, whether it's, I don't want to say not cleaned up, but you have moved down to your last vehicle and you're like, I don't want to get rid of that vehicle. So I'll put a $25 permit on a hobby car. And Larry probably could explain this a little bit better, but I think it was back in the mid-2000s in which the council did the hobby car, and it was so people who were mechanics and wanted to work on vehicles could work on a vehicle and not feel like they had the idea of moving in and out of the vehicle. What we have found out, or what Troy, who's not here tonight, dealing with a death in his family, wanted us to talk about, was the idea that I think we've given out 16 hobby car permits, And from his evaluations on them, not a single one has done anything to their vehicles. So the hobby car is defined as a vehicle that someone is tinkering with or improving it. What we're starting to realize is that the hobby car has become a free 1 year, well, I shouldn't say free, a $25 1 year pass to say I don't have to move the vehicle. And so the question becomes, and I started talking to Mr. Parker on this, we don't know how to manage the idea of what defines tinkering. We ask someone every 3 months to bring us an update on what it is, and if you can't provide an update, that means you haven't tinkered on it and you lose the permit. Should the permit be more than $25? That way it only gives people who's serious in there, and I'm just throwing out a number to be facetious about it. But if the number was 250 rather than $25, does the person who just want a 1 year pass versus the person who wants to actually improve their vehicle, does that become a factor of discouragement on the idea of just having it done? So it's kind of that same concept of we're trying to play back in our mind. If the hobby car permit is just becoming the 1 year pass, so I'm not doing anything for 1 year, and then you can come back to me in 1 year and you can either give me my ticket or force me to move. I'm not saying I am saying it's bad, but maybe in your idea, it's not good or bad. For $25, they got a 1 year pass. But our ordinance does say that they're supposed to be improving the vehicle over that 1 year, and we don't necessarily know how to manage it. The other thing that I would like y'all to consider is the definition of an enclosed vehicle, because you don't need a hobby car if it's inside your garage. Most of the places we give hobby car permits is in subdivisions. Most of our area is subdivisions. Most people garages are full of their overflow. Yes, it's a storage unit. And so I would even say, I would ask y'all to even entertain the fact that should we do, I'm gonna say it like that. Should there be a hobby car permit in a subdivision in which you have storage in which your broken down vehicle can be stored? And so that's another aspect of looking at it. So whether it is, how do we relook at managing tinkering on a vehicle over that year? The enclosed versus the hobby car inside of a subdivision where the majority of people or 100% of people has a place where they can store their hobby car vehicle, and the idea of value versus price. And I think we talked about this in the parking stuff, and I know we didn't make any movements on it, but I think when we sit down as a council and when I sit down as your mayor, I always think that something like this becomes pretty simple to me. My goal is to keep the area of Prairie Grove beautiful. This is just my goal, and to keep our property values high. And when you have a junkyard next to you, that doesn't suffice. And so that's why we pushed very hard on this inoperable vehicle. That's why we pushed very hard on our parking regulations. The hobby car became a loophole in the system. I'm not saying getting rid of it. I'm just telling you the reality of where we sit. And so I'm not asking you to do anything tonight. I'm just asking you to give me your comments and tell me what you think or how you feel about it. And then I will open it up to the public here in a second after the council speaks.
I agree. I think the part thing has become a loophole in the system. I could drive around town right now and five, 10, 15 cars that's never been touched in over a year and tell, and they haven't even weeded her. And so, but yet they're permanent, but yet, like you said, in a neighborhood, if your car's in a garage, then that's not a
Yeah,
problem.
because it's enclosed and the
It's
neighbors
enclosed-
can't
enclosed
see
in a
it.
garage, you can't see it, that's fine.
Right now, we don't force that issue, and I'm not saying we should force that issue. I'm just telling you that there's an option there that I don't know if we conceived when we thought about the hobby car. The
Right,
hobby
but
car
if-
was what it
If
was.
it's sitting in the driveway or on the grass or in the street, then that's a problem.
They either raise the price really high or just
That's it,
repeal the ordinance.
exactly, one or the other.
Or require them if they have a garage to store it in the garage.
In the garage, yeah.
Or
Get
pay the
garage.
fine, or pay the.
Or pay the fine, yeah.
You know, Mayor,
And
you
it-
said a facetious amount, 250.
Yeah.
Then you talked about storage, they're using their garage for storage. No storage unit easily gonna be $50 a month.
Yes.
That's $600 a year.
Mhm.
So we
Right.
had them put it in the garage, move their stuff to storage, that's $600.
Yes.
Parker, have you looked at any other cities? See what they are doing with this type of problem? Have you done any research?
Me and Parker just started talking last week. You may have more information, but
Yeah, it's not
we,
a lot, I mean,
we really looked at how to define Tinker and how we would manage Tinker for the ones that we've watched over the past 3 months do nothing.
I don't think
and
you
we-
can really define it, because I can look at it,
that was kind of where
take a
we
wire, chip the hood and say, I tinkered it. Yeah,
I mean, we year or so ago, we changed it and made it a non-renewable
Yeah.
permit.
So it's 1 year,
year,
it's
yeah.
1 year
Yeah,
and
it's not
then it has to
something
be moved.
you could
Has to be
keep
moved or
repeating.
improved.
so what after that 1 year if it never,
It has to be an operational vehicle, meaning insurance tagged and
what if
running.
it doesn't?
Then
Then
we
it's in
then we
violation.
citing them and it's in violation and
What is-
inoperable
what is the
vehicle,
violation?
inoperable vehicle.
But what is the?
They have 7 days to move it or they get ticketed and they'll have to go in front of judge with a citation.
Okay. So is that something we're like trying to move to, something like that?
Oh, we do that right now for anyone that doesn't have a hobby car permit. I mean, for anyone who has,
Permit.
but now before you say, and I'm 100% on it, but before you say it, we put it into play for a reason, right? You have people that want to fix up the old 67 Corvette and so we want to give people the right to do so. I just think that we have to find a better way of managing that stuff, right?
Well, if you raise the amounts, you're gonna get.
The city-
Period.
You're gonna get, more serious people.
Well, that's one of the concepts that's going in my mind, because if I'm repairing my dad's old El Camino, then I'm gonna pay the price that it costs to repair it, or it's gonna be in my garage, yes. But if my neighbor called and complained on me, and I just want to prove that I don't have to move it, $25 is simple. Like, let's just be honest, that's one lunch.
I'm like, can I just pay 4 years in advance?
And that's why we even moved it to a 1 year when we started realizing that, man, they're just gonna come in every year and pay $25. So we asked y'all to change it to a 1 year run and that was it. And that car has to move.
Say if the ordinance remains, the price has got to go up.
I agree. I
Yeah.
hate taking away an
Right,
option,
no, I'm sure you do.
but it's
Because I
gotta
think
be.
there's,
There are some that legit actually are
Mhm.
fixing up the car, and there's some that are just like,
Okay.
It's a good loophole. It's a great loophole.
I'll leave it and annoy my neighbor for
One,
$25.
you can only have one and it's
So
not
there's a
renewable.
person down the street has six cars outside.
Yep,
They
the
pull
5 of them
parts
has
off.
to go.
Okay,
Mhm.
but he's pulling parts off each one of them to make this one.
5 of them have to
And then
go.
Okay.
The bank's running a
And we-
salvage yard.
And we ran, this will be in our state of the city next month, but we ran almost 130 of issues like this, grass, just code violations, just since April of last year. So that, I mean, that's what we did in 9 months. When I say that my goal is to the retention of property values and making our city beautiful, like we're putting pen to paper, like we're making it happen. And so we just recognizing that in some things, there's some loopholes that I would like to at least address with y'all. And with that, I'll ask if there's anyone in the public that would like to say something, since this would directly affect you guys. I did.
I agree that it should be more than the 25.
Mhm.
And for 1 year would be fine, or if you want to extend that period of 1 year a little bit, that would be fine too, but I don't think it should be renewable for any more than 2 years. Because if you got a hobby car, you ought to be able to get your hobby car rebuilt within at least a 2 year period of time. So even if you were to extend a 1 year period, no more than 2 years, your car should be done.
Well, that's from the public. I don't want y'all to renew it for 2 years, but that's, you represent the citizen.
I'm saying no more than 2
Yes.
years. You got the 2 years is more than plenty of time to rebuild a car.
And once again, if you have like you and I, who live in a subdivision who has access to a garage, you can have that vehicle sitting there for the next 6 years. It's just enclosed, so you don't need my permit. And it's just that you're not, you or your neighbor, so let's put you as your house is beautiful but your neighbor's got the vehicle out there without four tires and leaking oil and it's been sitting there for 8 months and you're trying to sell it, and every time someone pulls up, all they see is that go, not too sure about this
But I
neighborhood,
mean,
you know what I'm saying?
Get into rebuilding cars, sometimes you get into something and you start tearing things
Yes.
apart, something might be more rusted out than what you thought, and you might have to send something off, and depending on whether they got the part or not, on an old car, they may have to make something.
You give me a high cost on a permit, that vehicle's going in my garage too. I mean, that's the other side. And so then you just have
Or-
the 1 mile, 1 square mile in the middle of town. That is our older section that doesn't have access to maybe the
lot of
the vehicle garages.
Majority of them.
Mhm.
Well,
Or even have a shop.
So will y'all kind of give us an idea of what you're thinking, and then me and Paul will work on it next month, present to y'all something.
Because you
that's-
said if it's in a garage,
Mhm.
it's voided of the permit.
Yes,
It's indoors.
don't need it.
Does that same requirement meet if it's like behind like a privacy fence?
No,
So that's,
enclosed, it includes a roof.
so if it's in their backyard, it's still,
It's an operable vehicle or it's a hobby car.
What has 3 sides on? Which
So
are-
it's gonna be in the garage or a shop.
Has to have a
So
roof.
it can't be underneath a.
with under a car,
Yeah.
with under the carport.
I mean, if it's behind a 6 foot privacy fence and nobody sees it, then nobody knows.
So
That's my thought.
enclosed, listen, enclosed means, I gotta put on my glasses. Contained within a building or structure consisting of a roof and 4 walls. A roof and 4 walls would be enclosed. So it's your garage, or if you have a shed, a work shed in the back, then it would be included. Well, we're getting closer to the end and y'all busting out the cookies. So close, so close. So will y'all just give us, just. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, so yeah, right. Well, I've got friends that have a lot of hobby vehicles. I mean, when we talk about the price. We talk about jack up the price of the permit. You know, a single axle for an off-road vehicle is $400-500. Now you're sitting further back.
That's why I say, like, to me, you have to, as a council member, you have to see a goal. And I'm not saying one goes bad or worse. My goal is property values and a beautiful city, right? And so there is a side that when we trade that off, we do take freedoms away from people, what you can do on your property. And so if the goal is, Mr. Parker, you do whatever you want on your property, then, you know, I understand there's a fine line between both of those, but that's what you're always battling as a council member. How much freedom do you give and how much do you take away to make sure that the city that you represent is in good standing with the rest of your citizens? I'll promise you, every one of the 125 people that we addressed and the citations that included on the small number of citations, they dislike me right now, but the neighbors love me. The neighbors love me. Because- Yes.
Their folk are gonna have to do something with the car.
And so, and I'm okay with the idea of, of someone disliking me if I'm making them follow code. I have no qualms with that. The point with y'all is that y'all decide what code is. So right now, code says that they can have one hobby car. It's for $25 and it can last 1 year. And we don't have to change nothing. I just want your ideas, so me and Steven can talk about it over next month and we can move on to the next thing. So higher prices, what are you thinking, Mrs. Wetzel?
It's going to,
Anyone think it should be higher than 250 or lower than 250?
that was my question, is 250 enough? Is that going to really get?
Before you can break it down.
Still cheaper than the.
I mean, it's still cheap, $20 a month is cheap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is.
Cheaper in the
I
storage
have a
unit.
junk car and I wouldn't do that, I think about $20 a month.
And here's the other side, no matter what, it's work on us. It's so someone has to keep up with it. No one's coming in to tell us their year's up. So we're babysitting it, we're watching it, we're doing the paperwork, it is
You gotta
a
figure in the
burden.
employee's time in there too. He's having
Yes.
to go out and
$25 is
Track of it.
it's kind of like picking up brush. We're losing money on this deal. It's a benefit to our citizens. Now, you,
250 is fair.
Mhm.
I've done cars before. I think 250 is fair.
and then you can do, once again, it can be a combo, right? $250 for the permit, but obviously if it's enclosed in your garage, then you don't need it. You can require that anyone who has a garage has to put it in their garage. We wouldn't give a hobby call, I'm saying that that could be part of it. You don't give a hobby call permit in a subdivision with access to a two-car garage. So that way, if it's a one-car garage, you're not forcing that issue. But the truth is, I, like most people, have trash in my garage. But if I had to move that vehicle inside, I promise you I'd move that vehicle inside. You're just not forcing me to move that vehicle inside. So if you're not forcing me, why inconvenience me? I can inconvenience you instead. And so that's the reality behind some of these things. So it can be a combo of the two where you can say this versus that or that, because the other side of it is, well, I mean, like I said, 250 is fair, 500 may be excessive. If 500 is excessive, I'm moving that vehicle inside that enclosed garage, right? And so you just have to decide kind of the reality, but we do have at least the idea of 250 being on the table, and that is, it's a 10, I mean, that's a big increase from $25. What do y'all feel about the enclosed structures? Should there be anything subdivision versus the old town versus I have a garage versus I don't? Should that even be a concept?
I think when you talk about overhead costs, you're paying Troy to figure that out.
Mhm.
So I think a good starting point is you pay the fee to have the car and you either like it or you don't. So you either move your car in the garage or you don't.
Okay,
I don't like from a city standpoint saying, hey, you have a garage, you have to park that car. in it.
okay,
So.
I mean, I think I would say like $300 a month or $300 a year, that's $25 a month. If you have a hobby car, then it's outside your garage, $300 a year. I mean, it's $25 a month.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're serious about it, you're gonna get it done.
The schools want less than that to build a whole new facility.
I know.
you got that right. So obviously we could remove the hobby call permit, but we disagree with the idea of removing something that we already have. We don't know how to manage Tinka. We don't want to restrict having a garage versus not having a garage. So now we talk about the increase in pay scale. So 25 goes to either 250 or 300.
300.
This- Are you okay with that, Mrs. Wetzel? Because you said the 250. So that way we can come back next month with something for Stephen. Just, we're not necessarily voting on anything, but just to see where our comfort level is. Sue, are you okay with 300? Paula?
Yeah.
Kevin?
Well, Steve.
Okay,
I'm
Doug?
good with it.
Tony?
Okay.
Okay. Ray, Wetzel? Will you write us up to increase it to 300, and then we'll present it again next month, and that'll give y'all 30 days to debate and think about it, and then we'll go to vote next month on
And work on the work ticket.
Just remove it all together.
it.
Thank you, Tinker.
No.
Okay. Moving on to water and sewer, Doug Stumble.
For the mayor.
The only update he had is that we're about to close out our wastewater expansion project. We had a few loose ends that we were dealing with the engineer and construction group. We're getting those fixed, and so that should come to a close. Very,
The
very
equipment
soon.
finally come in?
Yeah.
And they finally got it operating correctly?
Well, we're waiting on a, oh, I lost the words. Yeah, a
Soft
soft start on our pumps.
He told me it broke the motor mount and they
Mhm.
just wanted to beef it up. And I was like, yeah, and then you break the shaft in the motor.
Mhm.
That was the
Something
engineer.
we told them was needed
Yeah,
before they.
that's what Chuck told me. He said they told him at the start they needed to bid it with that, but
Call it Kevin Andrews.
Looks like after to go out to the county and the state for the month of December, we got $18,760.15. Just in court fees and payments, so. Don't have anything to compare it to, but that's what I'm getting.
All right, perfect. Thank you, sir. Fire Department, Chris Powell.
I didn't have to get a chance to visit JC, kind of blocked my mind, but he did send out a report that everybody I'm sure got. And JC, do you have anything that you'd like to go over with?
Yeah, you saw the yearly increase of about 12% over last year. We still lead the county calls as far as small town apartments, by significant numbers. Your question would be happy to answer.
And we still need another man,
Yes.
so just keep that in the back of your minds for budgeting.
Parks and Rec, Chris Poe.
Again, failed with, getting hold of, Chuck. Did Chuck leave anything with you?
Yes, sir. And we organized this earlier, but we have a Parks and Rec meeting on February 5th, 2025. We'll have it in the training room. Did you set a time, Mr. Paul? 6 PM?
Yeah.
We are currently working, if you pass the ball fields, you'll see a lot of dirt work going on there. We're trying to not only improve the softball field, but the 3 fields that we occupy. The new fence is going up that was torn down from the tornado on the high school baseball field, this week. They started on Friday. It should be completed by the end of the week. And the drainage on the softball field, which was the big thing that we started working on, late last year, should be completed well before softball starts or baseball starts. I know we get kind of a time crunch here. Everything looks good on the drainage and the dirt work. So that stuff is moving on. We did have some damage to some concrete at the swimming pool. The bids are coming in high, so we are going out for some more bids to see if we can get
I
some
know I
lower
brought that to
rates
the
on it.
attention last year, just out there, I saw the concrete is kind of settling a little bit.
Mhm.
For one section was lower than the other, or there's a crack that I could put my finger down in. And so, I knew that was gonna be a big ordeal, a big opening in that, so I knew that. You know, I'm not sure if that's something that needs to be done like immediately, or if it's something we could push off, I don't know, a great word, but
I think our first bid came in at 90,000.
we could push it off a little bit.
So
He did reach out to companies that specialize in pool. I think maybe he can look at a regular general contractor.
Baseball signups up, down.
They've started, but they're slow coming in, but I think we say this
We
every
have a
year.
lot that have filled out, they just have to pay, they've just done it online. So, but they still have another month before Saturday.
I know we're still looking at maybe possibly maybe starting some kind of, looking, do we have the property for the pickleball, like,
we still consider tennis
Consider-
courts as the property.
okay,
And we actually reached out for some bids, because we did bids probably this time last year. And then obviously we pushed it off as we were buying property.
right.
And so bids constantly change. So we did send out for bids the other
What
day.
is the
on
property
it.
behind the pool back there? Is that would that not be big enough for something like that?
We talked about it before. The bigger problem you have, and maybe we'll have it at the tennis courts as well, is a parking issue. And so, the baseball, especially when baseball is going in, there's no place to park.
Yeah.
We have talked to Tom over at Specialty Fasteners, not only about his property on the backside, but even the idea of using his parking lot from time to time. We haven't finalized anything.
Tom's a big guy.
Yeah, he is. He talks to us all the time. We just never get a firm answer.
Right, right.
He's a good conversation piece.
Yeah.
It's different to get an
Tennis
answer.
and pickleball go together, they need to kind of be together. Yeah.
Police Department, Doug Stumbo.
Wait,
Oh,
hold on,
I'm sorry.
sorry. I had someone reach out to me about if we're looking to spend some money, there's 4 acres, right, that backs up to Muddy Fort Park. And they would like for us to consider that for a set of soccer fields.
Okay.
Uh,
Across the river?
no, well, to me, he sent, it was, Esther and Claire's dad, Josh Hell. It's wooded, but it backs up to the subdivision to Mountain Ford. Do what?
It's not
Oh.
Mitchell's property.
It's,
Mitch is what backs up to us completely. I don't think.
I think it's,
I
is it
have
got a
it.
trailer on it, like a trailer house, and it's right there against the dog?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it's 4 acres and they want $315,000.
Yeah, that's for the whole thing, the whole
Yeah.
house and everything. Yeah.
$315,000. Cool,
Wow.
three.
Just a cool 3.
But it'd make a great place for a soccer facility.
Are they looking to go halves and we'll name it?
I don't
Give them
know.
some naming rights.
He just said that was prime location and I agree, it is prime spending too, but you never know.
Okay.
So. There you go.
Will you send me his number?
Josh's, Yeah, it's not his property.
It's
He
a-
saw it on Zillow.
Oh, he just
There's a
seen
real
it.
estate agent there.
Okay.
It's got a real estate. sign.
Yeah, he just saw it on Zillow and
The
they're
real
big.
estate agent owns the front property.
Is that what it is?
Yes, and the person she
With the
bought
horse?
from.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That
property
is for sale, too, it's signed.
Mhm. That's the one that we worked for a while, trying to get them easements and. Yes.
Got a bridge drain.
I'll send it to you, but I did tell
No,
him.
I know exactly what you're talking about
Okay.
now.
He's not wrong. It is a great spot, but it's expensive.
Long range planning, Bree
Hang on,
Greg.
hang on, hang on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The first
Oh,
chief
please,
back
I,
there.
I said it and then.
And then Bree come back in.
I already put my dot on that.
We got chief.
Busy, fully staffed, got one in the academy, finally seeing some work on the police expansion, got concrete footings, maybe concrete slab, I didn't believe. All they're up, busy,
Let us know graduation.
Yeah, I'll get it out.
Okay.
In my head.
This one will be local, so, we won't.
Up here?
4 hours.
Springdale?
Yeah. I'll shoot that information out once
Thank you. I think we're ready for one.
Long range planning, Bree Greg.
I was not here, so I'm gonna defer to GAC. Rob has the party.
Got a little JC, little Larry, Old Ridge. and
Or Larry,
a little-
sorry.
Oh, did I change it? Do you need to go back to the video? Cause I can do my quick presentation.
Minimize you.
You got it.
I wonder how you feel about hobby cars.
Hey, I get 60 days to think about this stuff before I have to come bring it to y'all. I'm just trying to clean up your city, Tony.
I know.
That's all I'm trying to
Hey,
do.
yours
Just trying to clean up your city.
Just not gonna let you look in my garage.
This is the
It was a lot.
Yes.
We have the
McDonald's.
Cleveland Street. That's for conditional use for occupancy. And garage that.
No, this is a new one actually, and it does look considerably better than this picture. But as JC was saying, he requested a conditional use as a residential mixed use facility in that building. It's been used as an automotive repair shop. Planning Commission determined that it wasn't probably appropriate to have a residence in an automotive repair shop, so they denied that. I think what the owner plans to do based on discussion I had with last week is they're closing the business and they're gonna convert that to a single family dwelling.
While Tony's giving me a hard time, this is a good example here where we went after cleaning up something and then found out more than we ever knew.
Yeah, the city actually did clean up when they found out that there was a residence inside with a family with multiple children.
20
with
feet residential.
Conditions.
He's got to change all the, it's not our code, but state code appropriate, so he has to do it, but it's mixed use, so he can have, if he shuts down the business, he can have the residents.
Mixed use. Okay.
He had to run them both simultaneously.
The other item on the agenda, was,
There,
yes.
on that last one, they ever had a permit to do that through Milan?
Oh, yeah, they're required to, they did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what I thought.
so there are violations there too, yes.
Yeah.
But, we're dealing with those on them. They're no longer seeking the conditional use, they're just seeking to convert that to a single family, which is allowable in that zone. But they will have to buy permits, they will have to pay the fines for not having permits, as well as bringing it up to code. It's a long haul, whether or not they'll be able to do it, will yet to be seen. I'm told, and I haven't been by it, but I'm told most of the vehicles are gone from there.
Mhm. They've done a pretty good job of cleaning it up. Part of the business thing, and Larry will know it better, is that when y'all gave them and I'm gonna throw with conditional use, wasn't that what it originally
City gave
was?
us a variance on the parking requirements many years ago with promise that he would keep all of his cars outside on the concrete.
Yes.
You remember that, Doug?
So for the business, it had to be on a concrete.
And the concrete never got poured like it, nothing was ever to
Yeah,
code.
it's concrete right at the building.
Yes.
It wasn't the number of parking.
And they
spaces.
probably had about 15 to 20 vehicles out there with grass.
40
growing
cars.
around.
They were
Weren't they wanting to do
like a swap meet there as well?
Yes. Yes, the plan submitted on an napkin.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's right.
One of my favorites over here. This is McDonald's and, they submitted their large scale development plan. The city did make them move the east driveway back away from the intersection to meet the requirements. It was too close. But other than that, the main thing that, is different from kind of what our regulations require, we now require that the properties be connected along Highway 62. But because you can see these slope markers here, it's extremely steep right here. It would have been near impossible for them to connect to the next property without a driveway looking like this. So as an alternative to that, they proposed to connect at the rear of the property, so you still can get from point A to point B. We don't know, what point B will be, but eventually that will develop. And the planning commission did go ahead and approve the large scale. They have the required number of parking spaces.
Hey Larry, wasn't there a drainage report that we were waiting on for that?
They are waiting on the drainage report before they buy the permits, yes. And I think Chuck may already have that approved, I'm not sure, so I'm not sure what the stamp. And that's basically what the building's gonna look like, I think pretty much typical McDonald's. Yeah. And then there was a concept discussion that was tabled, the owner who had approached myself and the mayor about this didn't show up at the meeting, so we're assuming he's no longer interested.
Just out of curiosity, how many RV spots could you have fit in there?
Quite a few.
Okay,
He's got.
I drove by it, and was trying to like,
He's got.
in my mind, count them
He's
out.
proposing, I think, 7 on each.
I
side,
think,
so like
I couldn't
14.
remember if it, I couldn't remember if it was 6 or 7.
Yeah. And his thinking ever since he put the subway there, of course, he lost a lot of traffic from the highway, got rerouted, and he's always looked for ways to bring in more traffic. So, good business.
Larry, while you have their attention, do you want to talk about the battlefield project? For the community?
Vendor.
Yes, mhm.
Okay, yes, Main Street, Prairie Grove is planning, many of you probably know that, Trunk Ranch has been canceled for this year, and Main Street met last week and kind of brainstormed some things that we could do for the downtown merchants, because that's one of their biggest weekends of the year. And I think what we've decided to do is hold our own Junk Fest downtown. I think Junk at the Mill will still be going on. So this will be in addition to Junk at the Mill. We're proposing to use 2 city properties, which we need the city's approval of, and we're talking about the green area around the Chamber Building, and we're talking about Mock Park. There was a third site that we talked about, at the school, and that will require the school district to sign off on. I'm not sure if we need it, to be honest with you, and we'll have more discussions about that later. But the 2 properties that we're talking about in the city would be Mock Park and the area around the Chamber, so we need approval for that. The second thing we need approval for is the city has a requirement for outdoor vendors that they have to go through a process to get approved. Basically, what it requires now is conditional use, which means going through the planning commission. I don't think the planning commission wants to hear 100 conditional uses on outdoor vendors for that weekend. So I would like for the council to waive that weekend, the requirements for outdoor vendors as part of our zoning code. And that's the 2 requests that the Main Street has.
Are we gonna shut the streets down or anything for it? So they,
We talked about that originally. We weren't sure if there was gonna be construction going on, so the plan right now is not to shut the streets down and just hold the 2 events or the 2 locations. Yes, there will be a lot of traffic going back and forth, and we will probably request a police presence of some sort. But right now, we're not planning on shutting it down. That could change.
they're thinking they will be moving.
Sorry.
They'll be moving from that down to the shops that's already there. and stuff. I didn't know.
It's a madhouse on that weekend anyway. If you've ever been downtown, there's people crossing all over.
I was just thinking if you could get the block from the city's green space down to Mock shut down, that would.
We weren't sure initially whether or not the construction was gonna be going on. We've got a little more definitive answer on that now, so I really don't think construction is going to interfere with it, but we will continue to have that discussion at the next meeting.
It'll be on Friday and Saturday.
Friday and Saturday. Friday, I think, would be from 10 to 8 at night, so we'll
Oh, wow.
stay open a little later.
Cool.
And then Saturday will be like that.
So we charge a fee?
Here, Main Street will be charging a fee. It's, I think $75 for a.
10 by 10. I think it was 75, 10 by 10 on the email.
The information you put on the site. is
Yeah.
75.
Dropped it, yeah.
So I think it's 75 for a normal booth and 150 for a big booth.
Do you need you need them to pass something tonight?
We
or-
do, because for our planning purposes, we need to move forward.
And make a
Ordinance
motion.
or resolution?
I think just the voice vote is all we need.
Just a simple resolution.
The way,
I do have a motion by Bree.
Yeah.
Second.
You need to know what it is or just what Larry said.
What Larry
What
said.
Larry
What's it, was you my second before? Okay.
Yes.
So I do have a motion by Bree and a second by Andre. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Resolution will pass.
approving the use of city property, waiving the course of the zoning requirements.
Now, if they plug in the electric, they still pay a fee.
For outdoor vendors. We talked about that. If there's a vendor that needs electricity, they would have to pay a fee. If there's any food vendors, they have to go through that normal food vendor process.
No, we did have I'm gonna use the word developer, but we did have a developer or business individual come and talk to us about this small piece of property. So this is where we are now, City Hall, police's, chief's admin building. And so it's directly across the street is our parking lot. And where the parking lot ends and we come off the bypass, you'll see that we own a very small strip of grassy area right there. And then it goes on to where the, Tiger and Lube spot is. But that small piece of grass, we had a guy come in that owns the animal washing or the dog washing stations all around Northwest Arkansas. If you think about the one in Farmington that is near Prairie Ropes, he has that thing on. So he came and questioned us about this piece of property and other pieces of property on a double wash for animals. We own the property, there is no water, sewer, electricity is on the backside. And he approached us about the concept of us renting it to him on a long-term lease. And so in essence, he would be required to bring all utilities there. He would build his dog wash station. And I'm gonna be a little bit conservative on this, but I know he wants at least a 10-year plus on the contract. In essence, he said those things are prefab, they just drop. If we ended the contract at 10 years, one day, he picks it up and moves on. It is a good way for us to look at the idea of not only bringing a business to town, but also get tax revenue off of something that is sitting right now. And I'm trying to get a better picture up of where it sits at. And so it runs to a little bit behind this last street here. But it allows us to probably get a small bit of rent. I don't know what rent it is just yet. We'll have to do some research on it. And bring tax dollars in and give a service to our community. We just have to give up a small piece of land that's for as a rental property. And so I'll present to you today the thought of, would y'all entertain me having a continued conversation with them and bringing back to you the idea of what we could rent that for? Or would y'all like to just keep it all property and move forward? And before we go any further, because me and Steve had a conversation about this, Larry, is there any reason, bonds, anything like that, that would restrict us on this?
No, I was just talking to him. We
Okay.
bought that property from RDOT. It got separated when they did the highway.
Yes, sir.
And it was a tiny little strip. They had no use for it. We made them actually asked them what they would take to give it to us. They said, well, we can't give it to you. We bought it for like $2,000. Real cheap.
Larry, I'm assuming the water and sewer is there on Steele Road, isn't it?
Yes. It's actually.
Oh, okay.
I don't think we want to lose the property. And we would probably, so Mr. Powell's asking why wouldn't we just sell it to him? So we could do a lot line on that one and then sell that. But then he's required to have so much parking, so then we would either have to sell him part of our parking ordinance, we restrict what he could do there.
Parking.
That's what.
He's gonna have to use some of ours, we would have to adjust what,
So the lease would be that with some of our parking also.
and probably be 2 parking spots. Something to that extent.
It's a 2-dog wash up there. There's 2 people there, 2 cars at a time.
I mean, but the other one has dog park.
He tells me he gets people like.
Oh.
That's sweet, is it? I'd love for it to be right here.
So here's the question, does anyone have any reason for us not to continue a conversation? Or would you believe that we should just retain a piece of property that currently we're not using and we have no ideas to order?
Continue the conversation.
Yeah, I do think we ought to make him at least put a couple of parking spaces on that side.
For the future.
Could we not get him to at least put a couple of parking spaces in front of it on the other side of the road?
That's what Farmington has in new spots.
2 spots.
Yeah.
Mr. Stumball's question whether or not we could force him to add parking spots over there. And that would be a bigger benefit for us long range if we were able to remove him from it. So theoretically, yes, because once again, we've gone into contract talks with him, so we
Let's say
can.
2 spaces
Yeah,
in front of
we
the
could,
little
we
wash
could
bar.
bring it to him, it just may be, number one, he's bringing all utilities to us. And then he's gonna, so it may just be a little bit less on rent, but we have to do that research anyway.
Is he gonna do just a dog wash or is there gonna be a little dog park also? Like you
Just
said?
right now, just a dog wash, a 2
Two dog
container,
wash bag.
yeah, 2 bays.
You get cows.
What's that? Sir,
As the city grows, are they gonna need that property in the future for the future expansion?
the only thing we ever talked about that for was potentially putting a fire department, a small 1-bay fire department out there. And at least within that 10-year contract, we don't have the finances or believe that move would be made within that 10 years. Probably wouldn't be made within the 20 years to be blunt about it.
That would be the only concern I would have, but.
All right, so, senior citizens, Paula Ditmos.
was up there this morning and they're rocking and rolling. Lance said that they're gonna have a Valentine dance Thursday night. Pizza at 6. I'll be there, Tony. And at 6:30. And he said everything was going. This Thursday. What is it? I know, it's on the calendar. But, there weren't as many people there. There were plenty of fun.
Thank you, ma'am. Library, Tony Cunningham.
Well, I've got a rather lengthy report for this evening. They're all doing about the same, but I do want to compliment the city and what the employees did with our snowstorm. I thought they did a great job of getting our streets and the library, they had that sucker cleaned off by noon, and of course, the library was closed, but the parking lot looked really good. So that's all I got.
Do we have any announcements? Anything from y'all? I don't think I have anything on the announcements. And with that, Tony?
Mr. Mayor, seeing how you've gone completely through your agenda this evening, I will recommend that we adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Y'all have a good night.